go ahead and hit record now. If anyone is uncomfortable with their name being shown or their face on the screen, totally understand. Just shoot me a message and we'll make sure that you are not seen. Otherwise, we would love to see your smiling faces. For the most part, you won't be recorded on screen. It's really just going to be Tony's face. But we would love to see who's here and get to know you a little more. You'll notice that I changed my name, Amanda, to Raleigh, so Amanda Raleigh. Also just a fun thing that I love to do in these events, just to see where everyone is joining us from. So if you wouldn't mind, toggle your cursor over the box that your face is in or your name is in. In the top right corner, you'll see 3 dots. Click on that and click rename. Would love to see where everybody is today, where you're joining us from. So today we are talking about physics nature of entrepreneurship. This is a different way of viewing startups and small businesses. Before I turn it over to Tony, just a couple small housekeeping pieces. First, we want this to be interactive. We want you to ask questions. We want you to get something from this. If we were in person, we would definitely be encouraging, talking amongst yourselves, getting to know one another. So if you have a question throughout, you are muted right now, but unmute yourself and ask it. There will be time at the end for questions and answers as well. So if you want to hold it to the end, that's fine too. But if you have something on your mind, unmute yourself and ask away. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout. So if Tony misses something, I will pipe in and ask it for you if you'd prefer to go that route, whichever you prefer. Just ask that afterwards you mute yourself again if you decide to unmute yourself, so we don't have any feedback. All right, so let me just read you a little bit about today's expert and then I'll turn it over to him. With an engineering background and 20 years of IT business consulting, Tony Zhang has found a true passion in education. He has learned firsthand from consulting how hard it is to implement new processes to establish companies. Old habits die hard. As an angel investor, he has been drawn towards startups that develop gadgets and technology tools to solve everyday problems, big or small. His investment return is all the lessons learned. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Tony, and thank you for sharing your insights today. Oh, and you're muted, Tony.
Yep. All right. See, even though I have been giving webinars all day long, every day, and I still make those mistakes. So that's one of the things we learn in startup business. Welcome, everyone. It's a sunny afternoon. The winter is almost around the corner. We're welcoming the spring in the beautiful place in RTP. And after I started using the Frontier facility, I noticed that this program, on the manual program, is very enticing, and I enjoy it every time I go to. I find time whenever I have time, I go to there as well. It's nice food offered, and it's great people to hang out with, and it's always with inspiring topics. So I may find today's subject maybe a little bit dry, but I truly hope that my past 20 years plus industry experience, different industry, can offer some value of everyone, and I welcome everyone to feedback to me as well. Yeah, one of the reasons I choose this subject is this is exactly the things I'm going through after all the years trying different things. And also in the past 7 years, I was only doing one thing, is for education purpose. And you probably gonna notice that what happened in 2020, and that is also, I think, is more relevant today more than ever. And while I think while this is fresh, cooking in my mind, I may want to share this with other people with similar mindset. And you will notice that in this program, I try to avoiding confusing everybody, but sometimes I use words interchangeably. For example, entrepreneurship and startups and enterprise and business, they have some common things available. So I'll kickstart this first with a little introduction, where I came from, how I got to here today. And I'm on my way to something. I haven't even figured out what that is yet, but I think this is a lifetime discovery process. And I started without knowing, I started when I was in elementary school. I don't know the 26 alphabets, okay? Because English obviously is not my mother tongue. So my earliest encounter of computer, that was in early 80s when I was in elementary school. And I failed the class because I can't use the basic language, computer language, to print hello on the screen, right? And in college, I become obsessed with computer because it gave me access to a broader range of computer games and also software. And this is where I put together myself a computer, of course, using my father's money, my parents' money, and with the help of a technician, which I know as a friend, a 486 PC. Obviously, at that time, I can't afford to have an Intel processor, right? But still, it cost my parents a year worth of income just to buy a 488 component to put it together. Now, it turns out to be the best investment ever. And my early passion with PC games gave me an edge in English speaking and learning and also problem solving. Basically, you have to solve the problem yourself. And there's also come with a never ending curiosity. So quickly make me become a player in the fast growing IT industry. And I was one of the few people get certified on all the certification provided by Microsoft at that time. And it got me also into a very sought after consulting industry, which is focused on ERP. So in my early 30s, I become one of the highest paying consultant in US. And my income has grown more than 10 times since I landed in the US as an industry consultant. So I used to enjoy my international travels, 5-star hotels, but as time goes by, the same experience doesn't give you the same kick, right, as it used to. So I started spending my time on my own finances. For example, what is my magic number so I can safely and then happily retire? And I talked to many financial professionals around here in North Carolina specifically, and none of them impresses me until in 2014, one of the Labor Day weekends, I went to New York Long Island with my get the family together with my wife's cousin. And there was a young lady introduced by her to me. She was a PhD from University of Rotterdam. And thanks to her, every time we go through airport, you will see this picture here. And she actually owns the patent that make this machine works. It's called a millimeter wave scanner. So she holds that patent, but still she doesn't want to be an engineer for a lifetime. She quit her job in IBM and then starting business in finance in New York. And then over the shorter period of time, she has offices around the country. So I started to realize that there's a reason why I wasn't buying some of the concept introduced by a typical industry player, because the language we're spoken, not the difference between English versus Chinese, but the system thinking, the psychology and philosophy behind it are different. So I was lucky at that time and still has inquisitive mind, and I was hopping on board. She asked her to teach me. And within 1 year, I was fully licensed at federal level to be FINRA and the SEC license to become a part-time financial person. And then this is where I think I stepped into something I never thought of, because I realized that I didn't know enough about human, okay, and also the nature's law. And this is where I started pursuing some knowledge training myself. I started to understand Aristotle, right? And I started to get into the Confucius philosophies. I know it's ironic, right? I spend all the time, I come all the way from my hometown, from China, and then learn some ancient Greek philosophy and also get to know my ancestor more. And this is where I don't know where I'm heading for, but I know I'm on a journey right now. And with that, I'm going to introducing the upcoming new book of a famous guy called Stephen Hoffman, Captain Hoffman. There's a new upcoming book. It's called Surviving a Startup. It's actually an interesting book. I already read it. It's one of the top selling books in China right now, but it's still pre-order on Amazon. It's going to release in April. But I'm going to just give you a quick gist of it. But I would like Amanda to help me put on the first poll for today. So what are the good reasons to start a business? So there are 10 different choices. You can choose whichever one or whichever and how many you suitable for you. Okay, we'll see who got that right. I can tell you right now, it's a tricky question. But I would like to use your common sense as much as possible. That's why I see where I can add some value today. Okay, 10 out of 13 already voted. 3 more people, maybe including myself. I'll skip it. Okay. Okay. So far, becoming my own boss, that's the top. Oh, okay. Making life more meaningful. Perfect. And change the word. Great. And becoming my own boss and then getting out of boring job. Perfect. And add spice to life. Perfect. All right. All those are logical answer. Okay. But the secret here is if you were, according to Captain Hoffman, which is one of the largest coach in the Silicon Valley venture capital, is that none of them should be the why for starting a business. Okay, so in his philosophy, or at least if you already survive a business, most likely your why has evolved over time, become something different. Okay, something else that is not in this list. So what are the core philosophy for starting a company? So if all the 10 reasons are not the most reason that make you successful as a business entrepreneur, then how about we use modern physics to understand startup philosophy? And because the modern physics is as close as to the nature's law. So for example, the value system. In order to become a successful entrepreneur, you have to understand the cause and effect. But cause and effect are not as obvious as you think it should be. For example, when your employee lies to you, right? For example, in the work from home age, you don't know what's going on behind a computer screen other than she's online, right? If you caught them lie to you, then if you do not, starting from that onwards, you do not trusting this employee anymore. Is that a cause and effect? Okay, philosophical speaking, right? Not trusting someone is always the cause of the future action, but it's never the effect of that person's previous action. Because you as a person are ultimate judge and have the solo right on choosing what is the logic you're trying to apply. It's like you are forming your belief system when you're making those choices. So I'll give you another example. It's easier for you to understand. If you don't eat, today is lunch, right? Because we can't offer lunch today. If you don't eat, you will become hungry. That's a cause and effect. Everybody understand that, right? But if your kids skip one meal, doesn't want to have dinner with you, and then you say, well, if you don't have dinner, you can't play computer game. That is not cause and effect. That's your logic. And as you know, anybody with kids will agree with me, that logic doesn't get a lot of buy-in from them, doesn't it? Okay. So what are the mental models for a successful business? And we have to form a respect that there's a limitation in words. How good you are in words, and you can judge yourself and you can continuously make it better. But the moment you trust the word you say, you lose the curiosity finding out. Further truth lies beneath the perceived effect. So one of the reasons Socrates never wrote a book is because he had a fear that when his follower read his book, they can falsely believe that they understand what the true message that he's trying to convey, right? Well, it would be nice that the word is very easy for us to tell the good guy versus the bad guy, right? This is how we teach our kids, but in my opinion, that's a wrong mental model we're trying to form on them, because there are guys and most of guys are in between actually, okay? And it would be nice that word will be black and white as well, right? Or, computer language, either 0 or 1. So that may be something our parents, our teacher, and even the government or our boss trying to want us to believe in. Why? Because it's easy. Not only is it easy for people to understand, and also easy to convince people. So you know that computer, our screen today, can show us 256 shades of gray. Other than black and white, right? Black and white are one of those 256. But human eyes can distinguish 500 shades of light, grays, because this is our nature provide us the capacity to. So if the nature has this many different level of between black and white, why are we choosing extreme, right? At least I would say, at the very least, we can insert 0.5 in between 0 and 1, and we can, in most cases, all the cases, we can add a third choice or a third option. So binary opposition thoughts are killing our mind and our creativity and also our way of understanding the world. The decision model is precisely what other people sense about you. So for example, if you think there's a zero-sum game between our conversation, between the business model, then obviously you want to take more share of it, right? Now, if you have abundance mindset and you truly believe there's always a win-win situation, then most likely you're going to prefer to take less and then give up more. Because in any win-win situation, less is more. Even you take less portion of that, it's still more than half of the zero-sum game. Okay. Now, if you don't enjoy what you do as is, then you can't perform at your best, right? You won't be happy. If you're not performing at your best, then how can you attract people who would eventually create a win-win situation for both of you? And there should be no condition to be met so that you can enjoy what you're doing. Because anytime you put a condition in front of something, then you most likely put yourself in a position could be disappointed, or you're in the danger to give up when something unexpected happens. Okay, so those are some key philosophies. Now, second is we're going to talk a little bit more on the elements of successful business today. So first, we start with having a dream, and then understand the cause and effect, and keeping faith, and knowing the beginning and the end. Okay, and on top of that, what are the similar formulas that on top of that can be successful startup? We can talk about altruism, because that is fundamental truth behind understanding cause and effect. And positioning, you have to understand enough people around you, the environment, and also yourself. And one of my biggest benefit in doing the business is I understand myself a little bit more than I used to be. And then when you understand yourself, you can be a better judge on the dream that you have. And you have to have a clear audience, okay? And you have to have firm conviction, which exactly why you have to have faith. And you have to control the milestone, understand which stage you are. I want to talk about a little bit more later on. You are in the process become entrepreneur, or you're doing something as an entrepreneur. There's distinct milestone there. And the ultimate result, this is final answer. The reason you start a business is that you're trying to being a role model of the people you represented and contribute to the ultimate culture of human race. There's no fixed culture that is best for everyone. That's something as a human being, as the entire population on Earth, we're trying to find out. It's an ongoing effort. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, right? Using physics to define entrepreneur is easier because it's getting closer to the fundamental truths of the nature's law. And if we try to do that, this is what I borrow from one of my mentor, who is an expert in this area. He said, a process during which the enterprise leaders adjust energy transmission, vibration frequency through energy output to make object resonate. Object can be resources, can be human being around them, in order to realize energy feedback and realize the aggregation. Okay, does that make any sense to anybody? No, right? Now, but at least we agree, right? It's far better than the definition of the business is all about making profit. Is there everybody agree with that at least? Okay. So again, why we're using physics? Because it tells us something that we can sense and we can through study over the course of the time in our education age. Hopefully you're still learning as an adult learner. We'll use this example. This is what human eye sees the three thread balls, right? Different color. And this is how, on the right side, this is how the cat sees it. Now, a man can argue that there are different development stage in the eyeball, but frankly speaking, the cat's eye are not less advanced than humans because they can see clearly better in the low light condition. Is that right? So the reason is the fundamental truth is in the nature, there is no color. Okay, color is what humans try to perceive things and then create a perception in the brain. Okay, from the light standpoint, it's just different reflection points, different wavelengths of the reflection. It doesn't really has different colors in the nature. This is why in the Buddhism philosophy that he said the form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Okay, we as human beings, we create those things, meaning out from it. Same thing if you look at a stone, right? The stone on the ground could be motionless through your naked eyes with the reflection of your brain. But if you understand physics, you will say, well, the stone is created at a macro level, molecular atom, atomic nucleus, and electron, proton, neutron, quark, and even the most microscopic vibration wave are visible through some equipment, right? And they're continuously running, never motionless. Okay. The energy interaction in nature, as close as we know it, is consists of the particles and the waves. Now, our enterprise is similar to interacting active between human being and between things, between your resources. And the nature of human being consists of energy waves. The behavior are transmitted through energy to outside world via different vibration frequency. So that's why the output of your operation impact the surroundings, and your company or your product or your services branding leadership creates identity in the environment. And that will impact in your procurement process, your customers, your employees, and your partners. And to another extent, the community you're in, and also the shareholders. Now, the leaders may resonate the frequency of the surroundings so that you have more demand, and you will make adjustment on your policies, and you will follow the trend, etc., so that you can improve your services and products. And your initial vision and your value proposition can be updated based on the altruism principle to gain team resonance. This is where, by giving them more payment, can go some way, some length of the motivation strategy, but only through resonate in heart, the purpose of the business can really go a long way in form of successful business. And then the output energy goes to target market and gain feedback. The only way to measure successful business is how many people and things are resonating within the frequency that you're trying to broadcast. Okay, and everybody knows that, right? We use these words interchangeably: the vibe, the synergy, the resonate. This reflects how a successful business should be. So after some of the dry discussion, let's do some fun part as well. So this is on the left side, this is the most advanced artificial heart. On the right side, it's a human functioning heart. And we have measured in the technical term, there's only 3 watts for the human heart. I'm going to ask Amanda to put another poll. Which one is more powerful on pumping the blood? So the human heart, 10 watt, 20 watt, 30 watt, artificial heart. Oh, beautiful. Very good. Okay, we get 10 answers already, 11. Oh, it's coming. Okay, very good. Most of people choose the human heart, right? Very good, right? Because we're human, we're biased on this subject, right? Which is good. So the reason the human heart, even 10 times less the actual energy output, but it pumps blood more powerfully. The reason is there's a harmony. It's not just the heart is working, okay? It's a lot of stuff behind this. The vibration of your blood vessel, right? Even your blood cells, right? Your nerve system, your other things that in your body that impacting the blood flow. So all those things has to be harmonized so that it can improve the efficiency of anything. Same thing goes with the business. So the entire business process includes which project you're choosing. How do you design your business model? right? How you establish your team, what's the frequency your team shares, and that's your product resonance, your intention to start a business, right? And how do you market your product and services, and during the process of delivering the value to the entire world, how that things work is harmonized with the entire process. So this is where it's very much like the human body. It has to be a whole process, not divided into sub-process without link to each other. Okay, it will perform 10 times better than the business do not have harmonized process. So let's look at the first example on our physics experiment. So we have to use a classic physics experiment done by Thomas Zhang back in 1807. So on the left side, there's a single point light source. Well, in the past, it could be a candle or something, right? But in our modern age, we use laser. And there's two slides on the paper in front of it. So Thomas was assumed there will become two light bars on the other side of the wall, because we know that light goes straight at that time, because we deem light are particles at that time. Now, today's experiment condition, we enhance this, right? But still, we use modern physics, we explain the light are waves sometimes. And when light wave goes through the two slides, they're interference with each other. That's why you're showing the bars, instead of two bars, you're showing multiple bars on the screen, on the board. Now the magic begins on the right side. The same condition you're doing, the only additional step is, let's put the equipment there to measure how the light goes there, okay? And this is, in layman's term, is just a camera, basically. So with the camera exists, with the human brain behind the camera, trying to put a human consciousness behind this, the particle changes magically. So it's no longer multiple bars in the front. It's going to be two dots, actually. Okay, so this is why humans start to know that human can impact in nature as well, the human consciousness. Okay, so the first element of entrepreneurship is, okay, start with a heart. Okay, there's a dream, and one of the reason, this resonance played a big role in the business is, if you're not doing things follows your heart in the layman's term, right? It won't be easy to keep up to the patient and also the passion as well. So you have to carefully select what is your dream. It has to be big enough, right? Not easy to achieve, otherwise you become complacent. And you express that externally through your thoughts, discussion, like the conversation we have today is one of the ways to express it. And you speak about it, you write about it. And you should allow it to evolve over time. That's why any given time in the past 7 years, if you ask me why I started a business, my answer will be different, because it evolves. And thoughts create everything, creates a lot of things, actually. And energy stems from the belief system. And that is the source of the energy source. And it has inherited your value system as a frequency. That is based on the value of the objective. And energy is in full only when you use altruism, which is according to reception frequency, because the party you're talking to, you're trying to resonate, they have to feel it's for them, not for you. If it's for them, you have a chance that has a frequency resonance, and that will help both sides. Okay, so that's the first element of entrepreneur. Now, if you look at this picture, many people will know that this is a beautiful picture to depict quantum entanglement. It tells us that there's no random state in the macro world. When the state of matter at this moment is determined, the state of the next moment is predeterminable. Okay, so the picture looks nice, but human has never been able to capture what it really looks like on photo until July the 12th, 2019. A research paper published on Science magazine announcing that human first time captured the event, which looks like this. This was once described by Albert Einstein as spooky action at a distance. Okay, so therefore you have to create a cause to bring the effect you want. Traditionally, what we think is, well, cause and effect are in order of priority. People may like a cost a little bit more, people may like effect a little bit more. But well, in physics and in business, cost and effect are without privilege. If the effect is what you want, the cost has to be there without compromise. And it's actually when the cost happens, it's already determined the consequences. Just like in the Buddhism saying, right? The Buddha changes causes while the human being changes effect. So this brings up to the second element of the business. Understand the cause and effect. As was mentioned earlier, it's not easy to understand. The reason we talk about quantum entanglement is we have to realize that those things come at the same time. If you want to change the effect, fix the cause. So physical truth for entrepreneur is achieving a sustainable development. So that's why when you see announcement like, well, Jeff Bezos is leaving his empire, right? Does that mean Amazon's going down? Not necessary. In my opinion, right? If he really governs this company good, then the sustainable development means that when founder left, the company will stay operational. Sometimes can be even better. Now the business start as when we look at the ancient history, right? Our view towards businessmen, well, they're wise people, they're good people, because when they sell stuff, they always give a little bit more, regardless of what they sell. They always go to the next step. Now, in the conventional wisdom is different. All businesses are for profit. Sometimes even evilize them, right? So our view towards the business are changed. Well, I think everybody, if you're on this call, you have some level of business mindset and you wanted to create a business in the future. I would say we probably want to help everybody to understand there's a way out for that. And then we're going back to the traditional way of doing business. So start with a dream and guide it with altruistic direction. So if you look at entire human history, we have evolved in the classic physics to relativity to philosophy and the future. On the left side, when thanks Mr. Isaac Newton, right? We understand the physical world by using our eyes to measure, sometimes borrow some equipment, but still that classic physics is outdated because there are so many things it cannot explain. That's where we thank Mr. Albert Einstein. He brought us to a new world of quantum physics. And there's notice that there's a chassis of ignorance. There's so many things in the far beyond we don't understand. What is the dark energy? What is the dark matter, right? We can observe certain things. We cannot use the modern physics to explain. That remains a lot to discover. And there's also, on top of that, is the physical philosophy stuff. The nature, what is nature? What is consciousness? There's a huge debate on that, right? In the modern world. So we have to understand it's an evolving science going on behind the scene. So what is the entrepreneur or enterprise exists in this complex model? Okay, so let's say if you try to sell a house to somebody, to me, that is on the most simple section. You're trying to sell something, you're trying to find a love home for somebody. It's a simple process, okay? Now, if you build a house and then sell it, it's more complicated, right? It's a complicated process. You know the unknowns, right? If you don't know how to use this new material, you stay away from it. Otherwise, you get into territory you may not be compliant with the regulator or something like that, right? It's a complicated process, but still it's governed by the general system theory, the GST. Now, if you think about, imagine you standing or you become a police officer, traffic control, standing in the busiest intersection when traffic light got hit by lightning. It's not functioning anymore. And you're standing in the center of the traffic control. That is chaotic, right? Everybody trying to do something. If you look at, luckily, right, our COVID-19 number goes down. If you look at the hospital ICU capacity, if you're getting closer to the ICU capacity or even exceed that capacity, I can imagine, everybody can imagine you'll be chaotic in hospital, right? So that is on the left side. So if you're working with civil engineers, scientists, and developers on the projects that laid infrastructure foundation of the next 50 years of development of RTP, then there's a complex system. And any business eventually going to be like that, any enterprise. It's just as complex, especially when you are dealing with human being, a lots of human, right? They're not governed, not only governed by the physics that we're talking about, they're also governed by clinical psychology, behavior psychology, and social psychology as well, and neuroscience. So this is making it more complex. So we have to realize that a business is on the most complex sector, which is complex adaptive system. There is a lot of unknowns. Now, because of that, there are a lot of researchers go one step ahead, trying to at least come up with some patterns, right? What's going on with the unknown? So Dr. Bruce Lipton has this famous book, The Biology of Belief. He says, in many cases, the effect of mind, which is the faith energy, on the physical function of the creature is far more than that of the matter on the physiological function of the creature. Okay, so that brought us to the third element, keeping faith. So the team has to have a faith, right? Has to have a belief system. Otherwise, they won't continuously resonate to each other. Now we understand that energy is the key. As long as we get the right frequency, you get resonance, right? Then consistency becomes the next challenge. How do we making sure there's a consistent energy broadcasting to the impacting the outside world? Then we need stable and continuous energy transmission. And that can be formed only when you have a faith among the teams. And when you have enough capacity, there's a full coercing power, then you create bigger impact at enough magnitude. That will across your business to a sustainable level. Okay, that's what we actually human has a advantage compared to other species on the earth. So because human can observe and humans' thought can change the outcome. Okay, that's the power of belief system. Now, when we're introducing the complexity of the business, our goal is to get rid of the determinism, or somebody who this is Newtonian thoughts, right? Everything is mechanic. If you have a cause, there's an easy variable controls, you can predict the effect, but it's not like that. We have explained that, right? It's a complex system. But at the same time, we do not want to scare people away that, wow, it's so complex, it's chaotic, it's above everybody's comprehension. So I'm not going to do business. Okay, so today I'm going to share with somebody what are some observable variables that we can get our hands on to be easy to handle to start creating a successful business. This comes to the fourth point, which is you need to know the beginning and the end. Okay, so when you know the beginning and end, you start to observing. So imagine you are on an ocean voyage. If you have a GPS, I trust you will enjoy fishing, nice weather, sunsets, right? Everything's romantic and everything nature brought you on beautiful things. But imagine you lost your GPS. Then you're basically trying to use all the energy that you have to find a way out, try different direction. So everything you observe from that moment onwards is for survival. It's never enjoyment. It's never sustainability, right? So do not put yourself in a survival mode. So once you have those first three things line up, then you improve your energy, the quality of energy, you make a better decision, you observe, put yourself in observing mode for better things, and then enjoy the life, exploring the clues, and you can strategic planning, just fine-tune your reduction, right? Not back and forth, but fine-tuning and find a rhythm. Because when you have a rhythm, you're happier. When you have happier, you have more influence power to other people, and you keep your focus as well, because your focus is on your value. Okay, so that is why if you're not in survival mode, then most likely you don't lose focus and you can still remember your original focus, original intention of the business. That is called knowing the beginning and end. So the energy flow, with the understanding of energy flow, you start transmitting it, making sure it's continuous and evolve over time, interacting with people, getting feedback, and then generates new energies and then transmit it. So by understanding this, you're actually in a better position to verify the business element, the typical business operations, like is your dream and objective aligned? And is this business model respect the cause and the effect you have already found out, right? Can this business be sustainable according to the phase you have? And your business plan, actual business plan, does it respect the beginning and the end of the sequence, right? Are you able to make better market judgment? So you see the inside of the market. Can you control over your operations without being too much chaotic and then eventually make it down, bring it down? So why do we do startups? If I can please ask Amanda to put on the final poll for today. Okay, what the startup or doing the business can benefit you? You can have multiple choice, by the way. Wow, very good. Okay. Right. The good news is all the answers are supposed to be correct answer. Okay. So the startup is supposed to be fun and it will work. Trust me. It, to me, is a way of living. It's a way of life. And the startup is the only way, oh, sorry for the typo. It's the only way the knowledge can pass on. Okay. Because if you don't go through the startup process, you won't push yourself enough to think enough to actually come with the better knowledge and then share the knowledge. The startup, in my opinion, is the only way to popularize philosophies, because today everybody watching news. News doesn't teach you how to reflect. News wants you to believe, wants you to click their ads, right? That's how they make money. So by doing a startup, you actually read more, understand it a bit more, practice more, and you form a better worldview, and you have a better value system aligned with what you already have when you in the childhood. And it's part of human evolution, in my opinion, because if you look at how technology has made start a business so easy, right? You can start a business today, right after this meeting. Let's start a business. Let's talk to a couple of my friends. They make it so easy. It's part of evolution. It makes you wiser. It makes you healthier. Now, if you can't find a balance in between, there's a way you can work on. Doesn't mean it's due to the startup becomes somebody get a worse health condition. That's a different cause and effect, in my opinion. And you become happier. You become stronger in relationship. Trust me, startup doesn't break relationship, make it stronger. Now, if you can't even convince your spouse on board or your significant other on board, why you start a business in the first place? Okay, and it will make, of course, a better world. So every answer is correct answer. Now, if you do it right, it doesn't even cost anything, in my opinion, because as I mentioned, the technology makes startups so easy, so cheap right now. If you're using traditional ways, spending money left and right, trying to buy leads or anything, that may not be the right way for you. Okay. Now, that is not to say that the startup is easy. Okay. So what I mean by entrepreneur readiness check? Okay. Knowing what you like. This is hard. A lot of people saying follow your heart, but follow your heart is not easy, because your heart changes, and your heart is conditioned by what's surrounding you. Okay, it's also impacted by what you have been taught at childhood, and become passionate about it. Okay, you have to have passion so that people can be influenced by you, and you have to train to be good at it, because just liking and passionate about it doesn't mean you're good at it. And if there happen to be a need in the market, it can become a profession, well-paid profession, even before you become entrepreneur. And it has to be sustainable. Now, sustainable is represented by the trend and the big force. So I'm sorry, if you're just starting your business in the coal mining industry, I don't believe that's sustainable in the future, right? And also, my wife is coming from telecommunication industry. When she joined the industry 20 years ago, it was booming like hell, just like cloud, just like artificial intelligence. But today, telecommunication is not a booming industry, okay? And even my previous career as an ERP consultant, still they make good, decent money today. It's not a booming industry anymore. It's already going to be retired by the bigger force in the trend. And you find a mission that you can implement your business. And that has to go with your value system as well. And you start forming a clear vision. and you have a great relationship with everyone around you, especially with your parents. So I really love, one of the gentlemen read a book about it, saying if you don't want to call your mom, you better don't start a business. So again, you have to have positive spirit all the time. I was having a conversation with one of my teammates saying, hey, does positive always taught you is a good thing or bad thing, right? Depends on how you interpret it. In my opinion, you can always find the positive common ground, regardless how absurd the other person is. So with that, I'm ending this with a final word that this is a concept borrowed from a Japanese concept of IKIGAI. It means a reason for being. So what you love and what words leads becomes your passion, and becomes your mission, and what the world need and what you can be paid for become your vocation, what your title is, right? As a financial advisor or as an IT consultant. And what you get paid for and what you're good at makes you a profession in that industry. And what you're good at and what you love becomes a passion. Only when passion, mission, vocation, professionalism together becomes the reason for your being. And that is something, in my opinion, is you have to find or fine tune before you even start a full-time business. So with that, I encourage everyone to think about it and find your whys. And I'm passionate about learning and sharing. And I am delighted to see my last couple of years, I was able to pass this on to many people around me, and they continue making the impact to other people around them. And together we can fulfill our own destiny. All right. I'm open for any question that you have, and hopefully you enjoy part of that at least.
Thanks so much, Tony. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I see some of my friend joining from another state. Welcome. Yeah.
Looks like there's a question in the chat. What was the name of the upcoming book that you referenced at the beginning?
Oh, it's called Startup Survival. Yeah, if you search Stephen Hoffman, you will see his book on Amazon. It's for pre-order right now. Yeah, I don't get a commission for that.
Any other questions? And real quick, while I have all your attention, we will be back again next month with another on the menu topic. Totally switching gears next month, March 8th, the topic is Zoom like an actor. So we are bringing in Camille, who is a long-term on the menu supporter. She's always been wanting to do a session, so she's really excited. And she's an actress.
Yeah.
So she'll be teaching us some fun tricks and tips to look your best on camera.
Wow. Wow. That exactly complement to what you learned today. Yeah, I know sometimes when we talk about the deeper whys, the stuff like that, it takes time to reflect, to think through. And I'm welcome to drop an email or contact me. I'm on the third floor of the Frontier, but COVID-19 season, I don't go there very often, but eventually I want to go back there. It's always nice to hang out with a group of entrepreneurs.
Well, great. So we'll stick on here for, the next few minutes. If anyone does have questions that you want to ask directly to Tony without a larger group. But I think that wraps it up. Is that right, Tony?
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for leading this session. Really interesting perspective on entrepreneurship, one we definitely haven't had before. So really, really appreciate your
No
time
problem.
and thoughts on this.
It's a pleasure.